It's debate night over in the U.S., where President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump are going head-to-head in the first presidential debate of the 2024 election. Let's go straight over to D.C., where VOA correspondent Chris Casquejo is standing by. Hello there, Chris.
Hi, good to be with you tonight.
So we are less than an hour away from the much-anticipated debate, and today's presidential debate is no ordinary one, is it?
No, and that's because it is the first time that a current president and a former president are facing off in a televised debate. And it's also the earliest presidential debate ever taking place before their nominating conventions. The Republican National Convention is in Milwaukee in July, and the Democratic National Convention is in Chicago in August.
You know, I'm sure you remember their last debate 4 years ago was quite a hectic one. Now, to prevent something like that this time, new rules will be introduced this time so that the debate will be a more constructive one. Let's talk about that.
Right. First, let's talk about that debate 4 years ago when 73 million people tuned into the first Biden-Trump debate in 2020. But it turned into a shout fest, and it was widely panned by analysts as one of the worst presidential debates ever because both candidates constantly interrupted and talked over each other. But their second encounter later that year was more civil. So that's why some of these new rules are in place. Let's get to those rules. There will be no live audience, eliminating the prospect of cheering, booing, and applause from both Biden and Trump supporters. They have 2 minutes to answer questions, 1 minute for rebuttals, and 1 minute for responses to rebuttals. The candidates will also not be allowed to use any props or written notes. They will only be given a pen, paper, and water. And their microphones will only be live when the candidate is being asked the question, although it's unclear whether the muted mic will pick up any sound from the other candidate. Flashing red lights will warn them when they have 5 seconds left to finish an answer. Then that light will turn bright red and they will be told to stop and their microphone will be turned off. Now, Biden will stand on the right of the stage in this debate because he won the coin toss.
All right. Well, it looks like the debate has to be civil under those new rules. Let's start with what's believed Biden will pinpoint during the debate. What will be his main arguments?
Well, Biden will likely point out that Trump is now a convicted felon, and his campaign put up a billboard in Atlanta, the site of that debate, pointing that fact out. Of course, Trump was convicted of 34 counts of falsifying business records in an attempt to influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential election when he tried to conceal payments to an adult film star to conceal their relationship. Now, Biden will also assuredly remind voters that Trump is facing other criminal charges, particularly in regards to January 6, 2021. And the Supreme Court is expected to decide within the next few days here, or maybe even tomorrow, whether Trump is immune. And he's also likely to blame Trump for the current situation with abortion because it was Trump who got to pick 3 Supreme Court justices who eventually overturned Roe versus Wade. And he's also probably going to paint Trump as a threat to democracy, citing Trump's own campaign promises on the trail of retribution for his political enemies.
And I'm sure Trump will bring up the U.S. migration problems and the country's, inflation fight to fight back, right? Something that Trump believes is a weakness of Biden.
Right, and that's what Republicans are trying to do. They're really trying to frame this campaign as one about immigration and the economy, specifically high inflation. Thousands of migrants have streamed into the U.S. border since Biden became president, but he recently tightened entry restrictions when he basically, did what was in that bipartisan border bill that Trump urged Republican congressional members to vote down so Biden would not get credit for it. Now, Trump has also claimed that excessive government spending early in Biden's term helped contribute to the record consumer prices that were at 9%, but have now leveled off to about 3.3%. But inflation is still one of the top concerns for voters.
Well, Chris, let's be real. All these topics and arguments will come as no surprise to many of the voters. How are pundits expecting the outcome of the debate to come out and actually depend on?
Well, VOA talked with the debate coach at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and he says Biden needs to avoid one main thing, and that is any kind of gaffe that highlights his advanced age. After all, the president is 81. Now, on the other hand, for Trump, what he needs to avoid is looking unpresidential, constantly interrupting or talking over Biden, but that might be a moot point because of the microphone issue. And Trump just really needs to look presidential, so to speak, is what analysts say. And he's been able to do that in speeches, to joint speeches of Congress, like the State of the Union. But on the campaign trail, analysts have said he's more free-flowing and riffing, and that's when he starts telling more lies.
Right. Well, let's see how the two manage to behave this time. Chris, before I let you go, how are the two doing currently in the key battleground states before the anticipated debate?
Well, the most recent Washington Post poll found that Donald Trump is leading in 6 of the 7 key battleground states expected to decide this election in November. But the race is very close in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And Washington Post averages with a normal-sized polling error of 3.5 points, which means that that polling is showing that it's a toss-up between Donald Trump and current President Joe Biden. That is statistically speaking.
Right.
And of course, polls change. We'll have to see how this debate plays into the minds of voters, because 1/5 of them have said that they will use this debate to help them decide which candidate to vote for.
Definitely. All right, Chris, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.